Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And today we are revisiting another rifle. That is this guy here, the LWRC M6IC Tricon Mark 6. And this is a special rifle for me. Yes, I have done a review on this almost 4 years ago now. But that was some of my earlier videos. The quality of it sucked. I sucked at doing these review things, which is kind of subjective in terms of actual review process. This is more so my experience with these items and just bringing it to your attention so that if you're interested in that particular product, it's just one little piece of information you can use or a little data point you can use in your selection process. But this guy here is special to me because it was my first AR-15 outside of the service. And not only that, but this one is special because they only made these for so long, and they stopped making these for quite some time now. So, to reiterate, this is the LWRC M6IC Tricon Mark 6. The Tricon series of rifles came about through a collaborative effort between Jeff Gonzalez and LWRCI. Jeff Gonzalez, being a former Navy SEAL and the president of Trident Concepts, decided to partner with LWRCI and bring to market a rifle that you can pull right out of the box and immediately use it. So he used the M6IC platform, which derived from the individual carbine program that the Army was doing back in like 08, 09, 2010 time frame. And they pulled that out of the individual carbine program. That whole program was a wash. It got nowhere with any of the firearms. And they went straight to the civilian market with this. And it's been a huge success in the civilian market. Jeff Gonzalez stating that he had already had quite a bit of experience with these rifles, through use with his training company, and, obviously was very happy with the performance, decided that he wanted to partner up and do a run, and that's where the Tricon name comes from. It's just an abbreviated Trident Concepts thrown together. Now that partnership went from 2010 to, I believe, the end of 2016 with the final release of the Mark 6. Now, the Mark 6, all of the Tricons, they only released in limited edition or limited batches. But the Tricon Mark 6 in particular, they released, I believe, 1,000 in total for the year. And they only had, they released it in two colors, 500 and Sniper Gray, as you see here, 500 and FDE. And the way it worked was from January 16 to June 16, they released it in Sniper Gray. And then from July 2016 through December 2016, the FDE variation was released for purchase. So this is one of 500, and I think there even is a... it comes with a certificate, tells you what exact number it is. I don't know if it's on the rifle itself, but I have all that stuff put away. Obviously, I don't know if this is going to retain any real value because I have abused the hell out of this, and there's quite a bit of wear marks on it, but I didn't buy it for the collector's, meaning I bought it because I like the aesthetics of the rifle, and in my research, I found LWRC to be a highly regarded company in the AR industry. So let's jump into this guy and talk about what's on the rifle, things that it was supposed to come with, and it was changed for specific reasons. And then we will hit the range to finally do a true accuracy test that I can put on film, and then we'll round it out with my overall thoughts of this. So, starting out in the front, as we always do, this is a Surefire MB55K muzzle brake. I am not a huge fan of muzzle brakes. I only have one other gun with a muzzle brake that was specifically put on. This they all came with A2 flash hiders, but because I lived in the draconian state of New Jersey at the time, we had to deal with the BS from the Clinton ban. So we had to put a muzzle brake or a comp and have it pinned on, you know, no flash hiders because they're evil or some bullshit that they pulled out of their ass. Moving on is the barrel. So it's a beautiful barrel all the way through. This is a 14.7 inch cold hammer forged heavy barrel that's been spiral fluted, and the spiral fluting helps in two cases. One, it helps to dissipate heat, and the valleys for the spiral fluting allow air to move through the barrel and help cool the barrel down faster. Also, the spiral fluting reduces the overall weight of the barrel by approximately 20%. So, being a heavy barrel, that comes in handy, and that weight will end up being offset by the gas block and operating system. So, lastly, on these barrels, they are Nitcore treated. That's what they use, their proprietary coating. It is basically a nitrocarburizing or a nitrided coating, and it is not chrome line, but I don't think that it needs to be. And hopefully in the accuracy test, you'll see that it really doesn't matter. Moving on to the gas block. It is a low profile gas block that is pinned via 2 taper pins in place, and it is non-adjustable. But this is part of their proprietary gas system. So they use a short stroke gas piston system. So you can see that down in there. I would pull the top portion of the rail off to show you, but however, with this flashlight mount from Arasaka, it doesn't give me enough clearance to pull it off. But it is a short stroke gas system, and I will roll in a couple pictures if I can find some showing the operation of it. And basically you have right here is a piston cup that is self-regulating and self-scraping. So it's got multiple ports around it to allow gas to vent out, and it has ridges on the inside that continue to scrape on the inside so that carbon does not build up. And then you have an intermediate rod right here, and then you got a final spring and rod, and that's what interfaces with the BCG. Moving on, you have a 9-inch rail, which is a proprietary system designed by LWRC. It's a 2-part design. You have these threaded holes where you can add Picatinny rail mounts, and you have a removable top cover. And basically what you would do is you would unscrew these thumb screws. It moves forward maybe, I don't even think 1/4 of an inch, and then it lifts off. They usually come with O-rings to provide rearward pressure. However, they broke a long time ago, and I ended up taking these off and putting these lock washers. They do okay, but I'll have to reach out to LWRC to get some O-rings, specific O-rings for these, and I haven't had the time, and I honestly don't care enough about it. It does what it needed to do. So there's a little bit of interesting stuff going on between the rail and the upper. So let me jump into the upper here, and I'll explain everything. So you have a mono forged upper, as they refer to it. It works like a forged, like a full mono upper, except it's not clearly. So the way this works is you have this upper receiver here, which is forged, so that's nice. And you can see this extension piece here, and this will be where the barrel extension resides. And then there is a proprietary barrel nut that is externally threaded, so it threads into the upper receiver and not onto the upper receiver. They did this for 2 reasons. One, I'm assuming they did that as part of the design features for the handguard, so that you would have access to the gas system or the operating system for maintenance and cleaning, but also because it's got a way better lockup, and it makes it inherently more accurate and helps with accuracy because now it's truly free floating, whereas a traditional barrel nut threads over the collar and onto the upper receiver, and then the rail will mount onto the barrel nut. This is a barrel nut that seats the barrel into the upper receiver, and then the handguard mounts onto the upper receiver. So there's a section about this long that protrudes, that's actually part of the upper receiver, and that's why these screws thread directly into it. So it's not, this doesn't interface with the barrel nut. The barrel nut interfaces with the upper receiver, or into the upper receiver. If I can find pictures, I'll roll it in so that you have a better understanding of it. Moving on to the upper receiver, I covered that part, but internally we have a proprietary BCG, which is full nickel boron coated. The bolt itself is Carpenter 158. So, mil-spec bolt, and it is high pressure tested and magnetic particle inspected. And this is the BCG. So it's a beautiful BCG. I know people have talked shit about nickel boron not holding up, but this is nickel boron after approximately 10,000 rounds, and nothing, no flaking, no nothing. So as with all coatings, it's how you apply it that matters. It's just like painting a car. 90% of the work is in the prep, and that will directly result in the end product. So there you go. And for to round out the upper, you have a Veltor BCM gunfighter charging handle. This is prior to BCM making them solely, so it's an older one, but still very, very good. And I would actually I would say that the Veltor versions of them are better than the current production from BCM, but that's just my personal opinion. Moving on to the lower. The lower is forged and is full ambi. So this one, there is a caveat to that, but I'll explain. So as you can see here, you have very nice lower receiver, milled beautifully, and then you have a bolt catch, bolt release like you would normally have on your left side, but on the left side you also have a magazine release. Beautiful. And then you have your safety selector switch right there. On the other side, you have your typical mag release, but you also have another functioning bolt catch and release. So it does work as a bolt catch. I'll demonstrate. So bolt catch, that's even without the mag in here. So we'll do it again. Bolt catch, bolt release. And I think out of all the ambi lowers on the market, I still think LWRC makes the best ambi lower, and I think that if there was ever going to be a mil-spec, this would be the mil-spec for an ambi lower. The caveat to the ambi lower is the selector switch. So Jeff Gonzalez chose to just stick with a traditional selector switch. However, their LWRC's current production with their SPR and their DI variants, they all come with ambi selector switches. So for me, being a right-handed shooter, it really doesn't matter to me. But if you're a lefty, you could always replace that and have it truly ambi lower. Other thing with the ambi lower is this particular model comes with the Magpul Myad grip. Now, LWRC does make their own grip, but at the time they didn't, and Jeff Gonzalez went with a Magpul Myad grip because Magpul makes good products, and the Myad grip is modular, so you can change the back straps here to have a different type of dovetail, or you can change the front here to have no finger groove. which this one does have, but honestly, when you grab it, you don't even notice that it's there. It's way better than anything on an A2 grip. And to round out the lower, which is also a collaborative effort with Jeff Gonzalez, is the Geisley Super T trigger, the Super Tricon trigger. Jeff Gonzalez wanted to make a trigger that was truly the best combat trigger you can have, keeping it two-stage and enhancing it a little bit. So one of the biggest things for me, which I absolutely love, is this curve to straight pull here, and this is by far the best trigger bow of any trigger I've ever used. Beautifully. So just to show you there, so there's that release. It has got a really strong spring, so when it resets, it like throws your finger forward. But there's the wall, very little take up there, and then that's it. Almost zero over travel. I don't even think there is. Again, beautiful trigger. Not the best, but it's absolutely beautiful, and I think that this would be the gold standard on a standard issue, GI AR, and it would probably be the best GI trigger anywhere in the world, in my opinion. Now, they advertise this trigger as being 1.75 to 3 pounds first stage pull and 1.5 to 1.75 pounds second stage pull. I just went through it with my Wheeler gauge, and I'm getting 2 pounds 8 ounces on the first stage, and on the second stage I'm getting 2 pounds. So you're talking, 4 pounds 8 ounces for a an improved trigger. It's a phenomenal trigger, and maybe that is due to having 10,000 rounds on this and things wearing in, but very, very nice trigger. Continuing on, you have a standard 6-position carbine buffer tube with a carbine spring, standard carbine spring, and an H2 buffer inside. And these originally came with B5 SOP mod stocks. However, again, due to New Jersey and their BS, the gun store couldn't find a good way to pin the stock in place without ruining the stock. So they had swapped it to a Veltor E-mod stock. I'll roll in a picture so you see what that is. I ran that for a little bit, and then eventually I swapped it out to a B5 Bravo once I left the communist state of New Jersey. So very nice stock. I've been saying I'm going to switch it out to a B5 Bravo. I'll get to it one day when I care enough to do it. There's nothing wrong with this stock. I've been using it for years. Continuing on, some of the additional upgrades were they came with Magpul M-Bus Pro backup iron sights. So you can see this is where I got ruined, or at least spoiled, when it comes to backup iron sights, and that's why I love the Magpul Pro iron sights. Also, one of the additional upgrades is a tango down stubby foregrip. So when you get the rifle, it'll come with additional pick pieces so that you can mount, Picatinny pieces. And it comes with this right here, which is a mount for a QD sling swivel. And there's a piece that protrudes about this far that's pick. I could actually just cut it out and then blued it so it wasn't as obtrusive. They do make another version that is not as gaudy, and I may get that, but it's not that big of a deal for me. So yeah, it did come with a tango down stubby foregrip. I don't care for foregrips. If you use them, rock on. I have nothing against anybody who uses any type of vertical foregrip. If it works for you, it works for you. For me, it's just one thing that gets in the way, especially when you start trying to shoot around barricades or vehicles and trying to get as low as you can. This starts to protrude, and rather than keeping the rifle upright, you start having to shoot sideways because you can't, you're sticking out like a sore thumb, especially again around a vehicle. And vehicles, if you know anything about them, they are just bullet magnets. There's not a whole lot on a vehicle that provides legitimate cover. Most of it's just concealment. So staying low as possible and off the car in case bullets skip is a big benefit. And lastly, it came with a Magpul MS1 sling. So it was basically ready to roll right out of the box, and that was the whole idea by Jeff Gonzalez. So at this point, let's go to the range and see what this thing has in store for us. Alright guys, so we are back from the range. It was very frigid. I think it was sub 20 degrees, and we've been spoiled the last few days. Basically all week it's been in the mid 40s, really nice. And then it dropped, of course, when I want to go to the range, but it is what it is. I'm actually pretty exhausted because this is the day after the Great American Outdoor Show, which was it definitely a great experience. If you've never been, you should go, especially if you live in PA. It's cheap to get in. There's a lot of cool stuff. Definitely worth it, especially, the biggest portion of it is the gun room, which is absolutely massive. And one of the cool things is I got to meet John Patton of the Gun Collective. Really cool dude, down to earth. I didn't take much of his time, just, hey, how you doing, blah, blah, handshake, and then I kept it moving. But he didn't come off like, I know some people, they tend to get a way about themselves. Their ego inflates, and he was nothing like that. He was just super cool, joke, cracked a couple jokes, and then I kept it moving because my back was absolutely on fire from walking around all day. But you guys already seen the range footage, so as you can tell, there is a lot of potential with this. Now we're talking about 10,000 rounds later, and this thing is still producing sub MOA accuracy. Now again, it is a little bit selective with their ammo selection, but as you can tell, even with the American Eagle 55 grain stuff, you're getting about 6.5, just over 6.5 inch and a half MOA groups, which I'll take that all day out of a fighting rifle, especially something like this that was designed specifically for hard use. So definitely good there. We had the Freedommunitions 55 grain Reman stuff, which always shoots pretty damn well. If you take that pull away, and I knew that I pulled it when I did it, and you're not going to hear it in the video because I cut it out to save time, but in the video I even say I pulled it. But even before I knew where that shot landed, I knew that I pulled it because I kept on moving, I was stable, and my hands were going numb. That was a pretty rough day shooting. So you're talking just over an inch, 1.041 inches, without the flyer. But even with that one flyer, you're at like 2 inches, 2.1 inches. The Fiocchi 55 grain, which that pretty much gives me 2-inch groups out of everything that I run, and it was right on par with the 1.964 inch group. The Freedommunitions 55 grain load with the Sierra Blitz King, that was a 1.5 groups of 1.445, which isn't too bad, but as you see, there's a lot of vertical stringing. That's me not being stable, so I can probably tighten that up a lot more, and you'll see that common theme throughout with the next load with the Australian Outback 55 grain Sierra Blitz King. There's some vertical stringing too, but that came in a lot tighter at 1.361. So that's still a pretty good group. Again, 14-inch fighting rifle. It's not meant for precision, but high quality control when it comes to LWRC. So you can see that there. Then we see it start to tighten up because it does like heavier loads. So with the Australian Outback 69 grain Sierra Match King, that gave me the tightest group at 0.797 inches. So just about 3/4 of an inch group. Phenomenal. I'll take that all day long. And then that followed up by another really good group by the Sig Sauer 77 grain OTMs. If you look at that group, you see a little bit of vertical stringing. Again, that was me not being, a mixture of me not being comfortable in my position because I was freezing my ass off, and the fact that I really could not feel the trigger at all. So there was the problem there. And in the video, the shooting video itself was forever long because I kept on having to stop to get feeling back in my hands because I couldn't feel anything. Like, it actually hurt to grip the pistol grip and pull the trigger. But that Sig Sauer 77 grain OTM, that came in at 0.830 inches, so still an absolutely phenomenal group. And then, of course, it opens up with the Federal Gold Medal Match. I don't understand that. I was always under the impression that Federal Gold Medal Match 77 grain Sierra Match Kings were the gold standard when it comes to shooting accurate loads, and seeing a rifle's accuracy potential. But everything I shoot this damn load out of, I don't think it's ever given me a 1 MOA group. But still, I'll take the 1.757 inches. However, the one caveat to that is if you look at that group, you'll see that there's some vertical stringing, especially that top shot is out and to the right. I think I could tighten that up a little bit more, but again, I was shooting in the same exact conditions, shooting the same way all the way through, and I had 2 loads that were giving me really consistent sub-MOA accuracy. So the claims of this being sub-MOA is absolutely true. I'll tell you one 55 grain load that this gun absolutely loves is the Hornady 55 grain Spire points. They're their soft point tips. I used to get them at Dick's all the time years ago. They used to come in a 50-round box, and those things would shoot 3/4 MOA all day long. Like, it was unreal how accurate that load was with the with that 55 grain load. So it's just a matter of finding what the rifle likes, and in this particular case, that's just a small sample size, but there is the accuracy test. So overall, you know, I love this rifle. I will never sell this rifle. This will always be mine. So 10,000 rounds. It's been through a ton of classes: rain, snow, sleet, mud. I've literally been so pissed off that I chucked this thing through the air about 20 feet and just nothing, no issues. I picked it back up, I ran my drill, passed the drill, and then, you know, no problem. So this thing is truly a tank of a rifle, and it is why my experience with this rifle is why I will continue to say that LWRC is one of the best companies in terms of their quality, but also why it will always be my top company for a rifle. That's why I don't have a problem spending $2,600 for an AR, because I know things go sideways, I'm grabbing this thing and this thing is going to run, and it's never going to stop. So, you know, in my previous video, I stated I ran 8,000 rounds before I even cleaned it, and it just ran like a top. So, huge fan of this gun. It's got a special place in my heart. It will never, ever go anywhere. And, yeah. Take it in, LWRC. They do phenomenal stuff. I heard they have great customer service. I don't think I've ever had to use their customer service, but I heard they had great customer service, and they still make an absolute phenomenal product. The only thing I wish that I could change, if it was me, is I would have went with the 12-inch rail, and you know, but that was something that developed over the years of training. I ended up liking that more outward grip and extending that support hand. But like I said, this is still good enough. So I will catch you in the next video, and see you then.